We are today focused on technology and the power of AI, but we are in the centre seat of driving what AI could mean for us. It's who we are and what we bring each day that determines how we use technology and what outcomes we're able to achieve, not just for us, but for others as well. And that's really why our industry is so important. We're about making the dreams of so many people a reality, and we can only do that when we're the best version of ourselves. So thank you, Tanj, that was fantastic. As I mentioned, our next session, and just before lunch, I saw earlier a few responses of people feeling hungry. I get it. Well, let's keep feeding you with some more inspiration and some more insights before we feed you with real nutrients. Can I please welcome the following members of our panel, which is AI and Proptech. Alex Babakov from Rex, who's a co-founder of Rex. Craig Devison from Property Tree I. Property.I, yes, forget the tree. Casey McDonald from CoreLogic. And fresh off an Uber from Bris Vegas, Andrew Coligiri from Flick It Over. Please give the panelists a big round of applause. Oh, yes, no, we could afford to. I'm in startup world, so you're always scratching for resources. I don't know how Andrew could afford an Uber from Bris Vegas. Great to have you here, and thank you so much for being part of this panel. And we want to open up this session again to questions from the floor. I think that's really the key here. But I just wanted to start off by inviting all of the panelists, perhaps except Andrew, although I'm happy to hear your thoughts, just in terms of observation, in terms of what you've heard this morning, and generally the role of AI in PropTech and the real estate ecosystem. I'd love to just get your opening thoughts on that, maybe starting with you, Alex.
I wasn't here this morning, apologies.
No, fair enough. Fair enough, but just generally speaking.
I think in terms of the ecosystem, it's obviously evolving. There's a lot happening in AI more generally outside of real estate. I think we're starting to see a good degree of that innovation pouring through. I think historically there's been this idea that PropTechs and the rest of it have to generate their own models. Now that's flipping a lot more because there's organizations that exist to effectively make very large models available to us that we can then innovate a lot more incrementally on. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot in the space. We're starting to see small elements of it coming through, but I think we're going to see a rush over the next few years.
Thanks, Alex.
Come in to fill the vacuum.
And Casey, just your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I didn't get to hear many of the sessions this morning myself, but I think, specifically talking from a CoreLogic perspective and what we're certainly seeing in this space, it's around, that evolving piece in the AI and understanding the customer. And I think, you as agents in this room are CoreLogic's customer, but more importantly, you also have a customer to serve. So it's about breaking down that layer to actually understand how can AI and the tools that are available to us, whether that's within the CoreLogic platform or of course with many of the suppliers that are here today, it's actually understanding the benefit that AI is going to bring to you and then to your customer.
Great, and while you've got the mic, any chance of sharing some of those benefits as you see them for people working in the industry, but most importantly, the end consumer?
Yeah, look, I think certainly we're all still seeing this, the buzzwords around the experience and satisfaction levels that our customers are looking for. And I think each individual customer is going to have a different level of what that looks like for them based on where they're at in whatever their property journey cycle is at that particular time. Maybe they're not in a cycle at that particular time that you're communicating with them, but it's about, how can you continue to deliver an experience that's going to satisfy them so that you become that agent of choice at the time in which they either need to buy or sell.
Thanks, Casey. And Craig, your thoughts of what's happening in the space?
Yeah, I'll pick up. I was through the morning sessions, and I'll talk to the
I'm
area.
glad somebody was here.
Talk to the area I know about, which Mike talked about around YouTube, in the social media space, and what he brought to bear there in the US, that there's a lot more YouTube being used than in Australia, and he showed some good examples of how it could be used, how you could, take those 3, 5, 8 minute videos, then cut them up into shorter videos and then put them up on the other platforms, and the way you categorize things, and how you start to build that, what I refer to as that local area marketing expert. So you can be that expert in that area where you talk about what your expertise in that area, and it's a video that's around for a long period of time, and how you can then use that to convert that into interest. So that was a really good example of something quite simple that people have to start, and then once you start, you can optimize, and then you can use AI to make it better, and just continually making it better from making a start. So that was a really good example, I thought.
Thanks, Craig. And Andrew, I'll ask you a more specific question. How will, knowing your background and what Flick It Over does, how will AI affect or improve the document management landscape?
Look, it's significantly. I think there's so many different versions or ways you can use it in the system. We're like playing around with how we can use it to add value to the customer. That's the main thing we're always looking to do. But error detection is like a really simple one. Like, are we sending a document that is factually not correct? You've got, you need to do 60 days with a rent increase, and you've actually done 57. So there's some real simple, quick wins there. Not only that, but then it comes to speed of creation or analysing things. So again, if someone in our system, you can only usually analyse things on a per document level, look at error detection, but then go, you're usually doing a rent increase, say a rent increase, it's like, you've actually done 2 in the last 12 months, you're only allowed to do 2, should be doing a third. So it's adding value like that on making people smarter, error detection. But that's sort of one area we're playing. But there is so many different versions of what AI can do or how it can add value. Even just, introducing the document. That's a real simple one and a quick win that we're looking at as well.
Yeah, great. And we've got mainly an agent-centric room, which is fantastic. Obviously, this is all about empowering and enabling agents to be the best version of themselves and to be able to deliver for their clients and their businesses. As an agent, often you are constantly having vendors like yourselves, and I'm certainly on your side of the fence in terms of being a co-founder of a Proptech business, and agents can see that it's a crowded space. In fact, it's often a confusing landscape. If I'm in the room sitting here as an agent, help me understand from your experience how you're helping me navigate that sense of confusion or being crowded out by all these different technology Proptech players. Maybe starting with you, Casey.
Look, I actually think it's a really good question, because I think, certainly from my experience in the industry as also being an agency owner, it's about choosing that right technology for you at the right time in your business, but also then understanding how can that piece of technology assist your business in being able to scale. We're all here to grow. That's why we go into business, and you grow as an individual, but of course you're in business to make money, right? Otherwise we all wouldn't be here today to learn about how we can do that. So I think the key here is that you have to do your research about understanding what that piece of Proptech is and what it can deliver to you and to your customer, and more importantly, how it can save you time, how it can make you more money, how it can, give you back that time with your family, and make you less clouded in your mind. Thanks, Tanj. So I think that that's the key for me. So it's about what's important to you and what do you want to get out of that piece of technology as well. And if I can, as an agent, where do you want to spend your time? Where do you see your time being most valuable? And that's in front of your customer. That is delivering those presentations, and that's negotiating and closing out those deals, right? That's when you're doing your best. You don't want to be stuck behind the computer having to ring every single person in your database and nurture them and understand where they're at in their buyer or selling journey, right? And that's where there's pieces of technologies can actually help you. So it's about understanding where you are in business, what you're looking to achieve, and more importantly, how you can scale your business by choosing that technology.
Thanks, Casey. And I think, the key point from what you've just shared, and I'm keen to drill further into this with the other panelists, is it's a mindset also. You can see it as being, a crowding out, adding to the confusion, or you can see it as an opportunity to be able to have and make an informed choice. And I'm really keen to understand, perhaps from you, Andrew, in the first instance, you've been on both sides of the equation as both an agent and now as someone who is a vendor in helping agents do what they do. How are you helping, or what's your experience been to help agents make a more informed choice about the solutions they take up?
Yeah, well, actually on the way down here, because I wanted to make what we're talking, I rang 4 agents in Sydney and said, do you use AI? And they're like, yeah, we do. I was like, oh, how do you use it? And they're like, we don't know. So they actually stopped. They think they were, and then they were like, they spoke to the person next to them, which they've got a bit of a team. They're like, I think we're using it for copywriting, and I think we use it for booking some maintenance for property management. So I think the thing I took away from that is everyone's going to use it. There's no doubt about it, but it's, we don't have to rush to use it. We can actually just stop and go, how is this going to affect? And I think 3 areas for us is make us more efficient so you can grow your business without having to grow your team is definitely one area. Improving the customer experience is probably number 1 for me, and then some level of security. That's where it's going to help. But there isn't, I don't think property management's probably adopted it a lot more than sales so far. And I think people are still trying to work out how do they bring it into the business and add value. Like, you don't want computers talking to your clients. Or that's my personal feel. Like, you still want to have the touch point, but it can make you more efficient in what you're doing.
Thanks, Andrew. And Craig, your experience from Property.ai?
So I think that one of the challenges for principals and agents at the moment is just the sheer breadth of options. So there's so many single point solutions. So moving forward, how does your solution integrate, or how does your solution do more than one thing? So therefore, that business, that team is able to leverage one piece of technology that may do multiple things. Rather, at the moment, we've heard how ChatGPT is wonderful, but what's happening is people are putting it into ChatGPT, then copying it into something else. So therefore, it's giving you the ideas. You then have to go and generate an image in Canva. You then have to go and post that on social media. Imagine if you can do all that in one hit, and things like that. So it's about how the tools can fit together, integrate, or streamline that experience more is where we're going to see that productivity go up in the future.
Thanks, Craig. And Alex, I'm interested from the perspective of a CRM provider. How are you, because you're often the central conduit for other tech stack providers, and being able to, I guess, be connected to the customer and the end user, the consumer. How are you helping agents make those choices, be informed?
I mean, we've got an open API. That's a key element of our platform. So we're always open to integration. So if there are point solutions that want to tie in, great, they've got the opportunity to do that. I think one of the key elements that we're kind of working through at the moment, though, is we are a platform. There are lots of opportunities for AI integration into our product. And the question is, how do we effectively build all of that in a way that becomes familiar to our users? So they learn how to use AI in one element, and then when they see it throughout the product in 7, 8, 9 other sites, they're able to effectively take advantage of that without needing to relearn additional point solutions in each context. So I think amalgamating some experiences that kind of make sense and making the education only kind of have to happen once. And then the second piece is, allowing the integration. I will say that this space is going to get noisy. It's going to get incredibly noisy. And the advice that I would give is think about what it is that you're actually trying to achieve for your business before you just go licensing every tool off the shelf.
That's excellent. Very sage advice. Thank you. We might just stay with you, Alex, and just really keen to understand in terms of the role of AI in analysing data, and that helping business owners and sales and property managers make better decisions, both for their businesses but also for the consumer.
It's definitely got a role, but here's the thing, it's had the role for the last 10 years. A lot of platforms have been generating these insights. The problem is not necessarily the availability of the insights, it's whether anyone actually does anything with them. This old saying, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? If you've got a model that's able to effectively predict whether a property is going to come onto your market with a 75, 80% success rate over a 12-month period, no one is calling those leads, does that model have any value at the end of the day? And this is a real problem that large businesses are dealing with, not only in the real estate space, but this is a real example of a very large business in the Australian market that's dealing with this problem. How do you get agents to actually use it?
Thank you. Craig, your thoughts?
Alex is correct in that the more and more insights and reports are being generated all the time, but it's actionable insights that turn into execution, that turn into results that are important. So as business owners, you need to pick the ones that you want to focus on and make sure that you drum that through your business so that you can pick 3 and get those 3 working. But the systems will generate 300 and you'll get confused. So pick the ones you think you can action and just follow up and get that consistency happening through the business and then take it from there.
Thanks. And Casey, I'd be interested in, obviously, forums like this and a whole range of other industry initiatives are helping drive awareness. And I think it's wonderful that here today we're gathered singly focused on AI and how it can help us as industry people. But how do you drive the adoption of those offerings that are out there and, as Alex rightly said, have been there in some cases for a decade?
Yeah, look, I think it actually starts with us as the business owners or the leaders here in the room, and actually then cascading those messages down. I think change is hard. We're all very fearful of it, but it actually can be something that we can easily do if we're educated and we're brought on the journey. And I think that the reason we don't like to adopt to it or make those changes is because there's an element of not understanding what it actually is and what's the benefit of it going to be for me. So as a user of that tool, what am I going to get out of it? And that's number one, what you're going to want to know as a sales agent or a principal in the room. What's my return on investment and what am I going to get out of this tool that's going to make me a better sales agent or a better property manager? And then 3 is what's the experience that my customer's going to get by me taking on this piece of technology? And I think that we can, as business owners, see all these beautiful shiny new toys that are floating out there in the market, and we hear all of this great talk about it on social media and what are you using and what are you using it all, and that's great. And we go, we need to have it all, but we actually have not understood exactly what that first platform can offer us, because then we go and get the next platform that actually just did the same as that platform, then we get the next one that just did the same as the other 2 platforms, and then all of a sudden we've got tons of subscriptions and we've got platforms we don't know how to use. Our staff don't know what we've got. I think I asked a question out there before, what are you using? They're like, I don't know, right? And they were literally like, we actually don't know what we're doing in this space or whether or not we even use it. So if that's the mentality that we have, we've got to take that step back as business owners to actually go, what's in the market? What's best for us? What is the objective? And what's the change enablement piece that we have to input into our business and implement to ensure we've got the adoption from every single person in the team? They should know and be on the journey with you.
Thanks, Casey. Really great advice. And I think the key there is you've got to be quite deliberate about the decisions you're making. And then really, to an earlier point, you've got to devote yourself to those 2 or 3, if at maximum, the kind of tools you're using. Andrew, keen from your experience, you've had fantastic take up or flick it over. Tell me how you've been able to work with agents to drive that adoption and step change in how they do business, particularly in terms of document management and signing.
Yeah, well, we're pretty simple formula. I was an agent for 20 years, so I don't come from a tech background for anyone that doesn't know. So I've just been a real estate agent that had an idea. So we find pain points. We use technology to solve it, and we make sure we enhance the customer experience or the agent experience. That's the 3 things we focus on. We really simplified it. We thought the industry needed something that was industry specific. Like every single thing you do in real estate ends in a signature. You want to work for me? Sign an employment agreement. You want to lease a house? Sign this lease. You want to buy a house? Sign this doc. Every single process ends in a signature, even when you terminate somebody. It needs to be signed. So we really focus on going, okay, let's build something that is industry specific, that understands what the user's trying to do, and then enhance that or make that easier for the agent, and also really focus on the tenant experience. At that time, not many people were signing digitally, so would approve the tenant on the Monday and would have to wait till Saturday to sign the lease. So it was closing that 7-day period or 5-day period into a 5-minute period by being able to SMS it straight away. So that's where we sort of got our traction. And then we got a great user base and we just listen to them. It's one of our business core values. We've got live chat there. We speak to our clients every day, and what they want, we just build for them. So it's not overly creative, unfortunately. I don't know if that's a good answer.
No, that's great.
Listen to the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so often for people who don't necessarily have the benefit of being a practitioner, or more importantly, listening to the practitioners, whether they're agents, brokers or conveyancers, they tend to come up with perceived pain points rather than actual and real pain points. And that might feed your narrative, but it won't actually solve the problem for the end user. And that's where you get this disconnect between what the vendor wants and what the industry really needs, and the ability for them to adopt it as quickly or as fast as you want it. That to be the case.
Yeah, and with that, I think our unique position was I was an agent building something to help my tenants. Instead of being someone just building Proptech to help the agents, I was actually focusing on the tenant initially, and agents like, okay, we want our tenants to have this experience as well. So that's why I think we're a bit lucky at the start.
Well, fantastic. And by doing that, you're obviously giving the agent a point of difference that the consumer, consumers are now so well informed and have so much choice that you're really wanting to be able to leverage tools like Flick It Over and some of our other panelists here have and are able to make available, to be able to give yourself that point of difference, particularly in a market where it's getting more and more competitive and people are more price conscious as well. You've really got to have those points of difference in the experience you offer. Can I take the opportunity to invite all of you to ask our panelists some questions? Peter's coming around with a mic in a second. He's really getting his
Let's get
the guy who's in the Uber.
I only had one brief today, and that is to get your steps up. Please.
Quick question from Ingrid.
Yeah, thank you.
When are you going to speak to us in the same language that we understand? So, if I'm asked what I do, if I can't explain it to a 4-year-old, I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I can't understand anything about the products that I need to implement. We speak a different language. We're a very different beast. The people that are working out there with people day in, day out, standing in the rain, doing everything, as opposed to the people that's sitting at home in their offices working on IT. I don't understand it. I still have to go into the bank to do bits and pieces. Now, I'm extreme. I'm dyslexic. I have a few other issues. I'm not the only one I'm not speaking about people who come from my background. I'm speaking at agents in general. We know, it's not a matter of change. We understand change. We adapt to our market every single day. Every open for inspection, every client, every potential landlord, every potential buyer that's a tenant, we've got to get into that property. We adapt. We are a chameleon. We're constantly changing. Yet the IT industry expects us to understand parameters that we've never been taught. We don't understand, but we want to use it. I have X amount of dollars that I spend on marketing each month, and I know where I've got to go. I still don't know today which products. I've got a new business I'm launching, and I don't know what products I should be putting under this brand.
Great question. Thank you very much. Sorry, Pete.
Yeah, can I assist in responding to that? Because we deal, Reach deals with 36 different tech companies. It's an ongoing frustration, and it's always going to come from the tech industry because technology is generally innovative or new. So it's not something that you've learned before. Like, for example, if I was to take you down to another bike shop and there's a new whiz-bang bike, you would understand at least the basic concept about a bike, right? But in some of the technology that is new and innovative, by definition, it's going to scare the crap out of you, and it's going to be really, really hard to get your head around. And some of the jobs that these guys have to do, it's not easy, because you might have one different understanding, and there might be somebody else who has a greater level of understanding, and some of it comes down to the consumer. The dudes that Alex deals with, he can talk tech with those guys every day of the week. They actually lock him away in a developer office. I've got it reliably from Pete. They put him in a room with doof music, and he codes all day. So it's very rare that he's on the front line. But someone like Andrew, who's actually a real estate agent, and you will have even heard from the way he speaks, Casey McDonald's been in the property management industry for decades. So these two people here actually speak your language. And sometimes when it comes to tech, it's about translating to the consumer what it is. And I can hear the frustration. I've heard it before. But bear in mind that every Proptech company has to overcome that hurdle. Mine had to do it. How do I tell people how to be better at marketing when they don't give a shit? Very, very difficult message. And some of that's in education, but you're bang on, and thank you for raising it, because these people need to hear how difficult it is. Is that a reasonable answer there? Have I?
Yeah, absolutely. Can I add to that? I absolutely agree, we hear it all of the time. Absolutely, we have this solution for you, and we go in with these fantastic sales pitch and try to and sell you it, but there's not a level of understanding. And I think if I can just give a shout out to a company like CoreLogic, it is a reason that they've reshifted their recruitment strategies, is to bring people on like the likes of me that have actually done decades in the industry. Yes, okay, I've done 26 or 7 years in property management, more so than I have done in sales, but I've owned an agency and I understand how to run it. From the ground, I built a startup business. And so I actually do know how to speak your language. I sit there with our customers in Queensland and generally say, what are you trying to achieve in your business? What do you want to achieve in your rent roll growth? Do you even want to have a rent roll? How many sales listings do you want to bring on? And then I say, and guess what? I think I've got a solution that can really help you achieve that goal faster. So I think especially from our world in CoreLogic, we've listened, and whilst we still don't have it right, and we absolutely still need to take on board the feedback, we've changed the way we actually think about it, and that's why we've taken on a different recruitment strategy to bring more people in from the industry to help you achieve your goals. Yeah.
Thanks, Casey. Alex?
It's two things. I grew up in a real estate office. My mum was a real estate agent. My wife was a property manager. So I think there is a lot of empathy through that cycle. I've dealt with real estate agents for a long time. I do think that there's maybe an assumption that we don't care about this stuff. We were ready to roll AI out into our platform 12 months ago. We stopped it because it was not accessible, right? It was not easy enough to understand. It wasn't easy enough to use. And we've been going through cycles of that since that point. We're finally at a point where we're about to effectively launch in. But that's been off the back of engaging with customers, right? And our customers are agents. So it's not a situation where we just come up with something and throw it into the market and hope for the best. I think with newer providers, it's difficult because they don't have that customer base effectively available to talk to. And agents won't necessarily talk to them because that's not their job. They've got other things effectively in place to do. So, I think the idea that we don't think about the users and we don't think about these problems, 100% we do, because if nobody uses the functionality, they're not getting value out of it, and they're just going to jump ship to another product who's got a shiny wrapper on it.
I'm conscious of time, but thank you for raising that. And I think you're both right, but in essence, there is a gap. There's a reality gap between perception and what is reality for agents. And language is a big barrier to change and adoption by the industry. So absolutely, anything we can do, and I'm sure the panel will take it on, but collectively as leaders, how do we become brokers of exchanging information and doing that in a way that people can relate to and understand? So thank you for the question. Yeah. One more question, two more.
I was just going to say, I don't think it's more about the lack of understanding and lack of care factor. I think it's more about the simplicity putting it across to agents. Like someone like myself, I have a fairly good understanding, but I look at how it's presented online and how you're doing it. And if I had no idea, I tell you what, I wouldn't be able to know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I guess the thing is even use the technology to, I mean, you can go into ChatGPT and just go, hey, explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old. Put it in there, get it out there, and then basically get it out to people to know what they're actually looking at. Because yes, you do have the care factor, you understand from an agent's perspective, but it's still being presented as a tech piece, and they don't know what that tech piece is. I guess that's kind of maybe what you're getting at. Yeah.
No, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, and I love the hat. One last question. I mean, I could understand that, and I'm barely 4.
Quick question from Richard.
I think it gets back to the statistic that we only use 10% of our brain. You know, we buy all this IT stuff and we only use 10% of its capacity because we get into what's very easy and works for us very quickly. There doesn't seem to be, and maybe it's a management through to salespeople or management down to property management, there doesn't seem to be any follow-up from any of the IT people or packages that I've previously bought in terms of, yes, we've got videos, you can log in and do some online training, but there's no proactivity in saying, this is what we're launching, can we come and show or demonstrate it to you in a way? And I think that would increase the capacity from 10% to 40% in an environment where we can skill up and we're being educated along the way rather than self-education. There it is. Otherwise, it turns into being a gym membership in that we know that 80% of you are not going to turn up after 2 months, but we're going to keep clipping your subscription every month. And I don't think there's that care factor on the all of these tech things that we get in order to get full engagement.
Thank you, and I do want to just rephrase, because I think that's a great question, and it sort of reminds me of the tagline one of the gym companies had, you know, motivation gets you started, habit keeps you going, and we've got to get people to be able to make it a habit in terms of using these systems. And there is, and I absolutely take your point, I think for those of us on this side of the fence, we need to shift from selling to learning and development so that people end up changing their habits and become active users of these tools. Andrew, I'd be interested in your perspective.
Yeah, I'll just talk about my product. So we came to life because I love customer service. I've always said when I was a real estate agent, I experienced in customer service, I applied to real estate. We've got live chat in our system. Our KPI for that is to keep our response time under 90 seconds. So when anyone messages, we've got to keep it under 90 seconds. I think last month was 1 minute and 6 seconds to engage with that person. Getting onboarding and training of new features is our biggest frustration as well, like in getting product-wide adoption. We do release videos, we do online webinars, we send email things. I've got someone we just hired, just all they do, their KPI is to make people understand what new features are out there. I walk into an office and they're like, oh, when are you going to do breach notices? It's like, we launched that 6 months ago. And like, so it's frustration for us as well. Usually because when you log into user system, you want to use it. You don't want to pop up to say, hey, learn about this. You just dismiss and go what you want to do. So we definitely care about a customer. Like, so and live chat, I think is proof of that. And we're always talking to our customer as well. We're not just about sell. I always, when I'm out with offices, it's like we love providing good tech, but we love providing better customer service to use the technology as well. We've got an open door with continuous training. So anyone who uses our system, whenever they want, they say, we've got a new staff member started, can you do an online training session with them? And we'll go do a 1-hour Zoom session with that staff member. So we've got an unlimited door when it comes to live chat, ongoing training, but it's a frustration of ours. So like everyone is so busy. How do you get them to stop and go, can we teach you about something else? And I know when I started using like Property Me, I probably use it at its full capacity to that day, and then it just diminished over time because I never learn about all the new features. But yeah, it's frustration. We try and do better at it, and it'll be something I don't think we'll ever stop trying at, but it's hard to do.
Thanks, Andrew. Craig, just a quick one.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to add to that, so yes, echo all of those things, just throwing it back to the industry, one of the challenges we have on the panel is staff turnover. We train somebody, the system's being used beautifully, and the person leaves or changes role. So that becomes an interesting challenge on both sides. So everything was working well, but that handover to the next person and that knowledge transfer on both sides can fail. And it's a joint problem.
Thank you. I'm conscious of time, can I ask each of our panelists for one final thought that they might have, both either from their experience today or more generally in terms of AI and its role in our industry, starting with you, Alex.
I think key takeaway, don't overthink it. Again, think about what problems you've got in your business and get to solving those. There's lots of technology, some of it's AI, some of it's not. Forget about the label. Just think about what it is that you're wanting to do, which is probably deliver better customer service, scale your business, and make sure that you're still here in 10 years.
Thanks, Alex. Craig?
I think with AI, you're going to see lots of solutions and change in the short term, but the big changes are coming probably around 5 years out. So as Bill Gates said, we overestimate what we can do in the short term and we underestimate what we can do in the medium term. And I think that's going to be big in the AI space.
Thank you.
In Proptech.
Casey?
Yeah, look, I think that as an industry, we all have to keep learning. That's us up here as well, as you, as in the audience. I think that we shouldn't stop learning, and we have to ensure that we are consistently doing that research, and we have to take it on ourselves to make sure we do some self-learning too. Whatever your platform is that you take on, that you are engaging in that yourself and you're being proactive in that space. And I'm talking about all of us here. We have to learn from you and you have to learn from us. So I think the biggest thing here in, that this world for PropTech and AI is that you're not going to know everything. And I don't think we all sit up here and think we know everything either. But it's about you taking just the time to invest in some of that research to just learn and educate yourself and be curious.
Thanks, Casey. And I think that's been one of the great features of today, is that the openness for there to be an exchange between those who are up on stage and people on the floor. So I think that's an important feature that we need to maintain beyond this room and take back into our businesses when you see some of these amazing people on the stage come through your doors and vice versa. Andrew, your final thought?
I think nothing will replace real estate agents. I think we've learned that over time, whether it's property management or sales, you are the product. They're choosing you to manage the property or they're choosing you to sell the property. Technology will assist you to be more efficient and, but no one ever chose me because I used Flick It Over or used Property Me. They were choosing the person. And when my friends or clients were choosing an agent, I always said, don't focus on the commission. Everyone focus on the commission. Focus on who do you want to be standing there on Saturday, and when someone rings to make an offer, who do you want to answer that phone? And AI can't replace that phone call. So you are the product. No, nothing will ever replace that. It'll just enhance you and make your job more efficient and smarter sometimes.
What a great way to finish, and also an excellent segue to our session post-lunch, which is on Nurture Core. But can I please ask you to give a big round of applause to Alex, Andrew, Craig and Casey.